Shalom, it's Jeremiah Yakol. Before we start off, I want to give praises to the Father and the Son. Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahushua, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahushua, Barakatah Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushua, Bahashem, Rakakadash, Yahweh to the people ignorantly called God, and Yahushua to the people ignorantly called Jesus, so-called blacks, so-called Hispanics, so-called Native Americans. You are the Hebrew Israelites. We got this article. It says U.S. deploys warships near Venezuela, quote unquote, to combat drug threats. It says three U.S. Aegis guided missile destroyers will arrive off the coast of Venezuela in the next 36 hours as part in an effort to address threats from Latin American drug cartels. They're basically trying to say that they're sending all these ships and 4,000 Marines just to combat, quote unquote, drugs getting into the U.S. Let's not forget, people that run this country is, hypocrites. Because you take it back to the 70s to the 80s, they was so-called black, so-called Hispanic, so-called Native Americans. They didn't out of nowhere know how to make and cook, crack cocaine, That was a tool, a weapon against us by our enemy to, further destroy us. And even when they know all these drugs that get into this country, yeah, they may catch and some of the drugs that get into this country. But a lot of the times, they are the ones that's, pushing these drugs into the, you know, country, even though they're gonna act like, they're the good guy, but really, man, a lot of the times the people that portray like the good guy are really the bad guy. And, they even placed a $50 million bounty on Venezuela president head. So, it's definitely a lot going on. But, this one thing that, their president said that stuck out to me. He said, Venezuela will defend our seas, our skies, and our land. He alluded to what he called the outlandish, bizarre threat of a declining empire. That's spiritual that he said the bizarre threat of a declining empire, man. And, Mystery Babylon, aka America, is a declining empire on its downfall, man. And you look at it, Venezuela is a BRICS country. They're in BRICS. And, BRICS and what they're doing poses an extreme threat to the U.S. and their world hegemony, world dominance. And not only that, if you look at the track record, the U.S. has, you know, Iraq, all these different countries, taking and stealing resources. And it says Venezuela holds the largest amount of proven oil reserves in the world with over 300 billion barrels of crude oil. Man, I believe, it could be, something deeper than just trying to stop drugs from, circulating and getting, to the US, man. That Venezuela got the most oil in the world, man. And, looks like Mystery Babylon, aka America, they want some of that oil. Right, now we finna get into Habakkuk, starting at 2. Says, Behold, his soul, which is lifted up, is not upright in him. Now that's talking about, the Edomites, man. They are a fucked up people, man. But they were created to be as brutish, as fucked up as they are, man. The beast of the earth. Says he also, yeah, also because he transgresses by one, he is a proud man. Pause. Who's the most powerful people on the earth? The Edomites. The so-called white people, the so-called, Caucasians. As proud as they can come. Says neither keep it at home. Pause. Okay, who goes around the world taking resources, taking lands, conquering and enslaving people? Who has the track record of doing that? The Edomites, man. And as well how just by reading these scriptures, you can get an idea, and the scriptures paint a picture of who is talking about without even saying their name. It says who neither keepeth at home. Now you look at all these different countries, USA, America. Edom got this land by conquest. Really, the conquest against the Hebrew Israelites who were keeping it a buck. Now you look at Europe, conquest. Australia, conquest. Russia, conquest, because the Russians are Edomites too. All the lands that they have, they got, by war. They have no inheritance. Edom has no blessing. Well, their blessing, Slovakia, is a sword, man. They live and die by their sword. It says who enlargeth his desire as hell and is as death and cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations and heapeth unto him all people. Meaning, these devils' appetite for war and conquest and, more lands, more people to spoil cannot be satisfied, man. Let's say even if Edom conquered the whole world, they would still be searching and looking for more. They would still have hunger for more, man. It says, but gathered unto him all nations and heapeth unto him all people. And a couple of examples of this is, look what's happening in fake Israel, which, the Israelis really, they're Edomites too, but they're Edomites from the tribe of Amalek. No, they are doing this right now. No, look at in Gaza. They're taking land with their blessing, the sword, their army, their military, their weapons of war. You know, so it's clear as day, man, who Edom is. No, it shouldn't be any confusion of who Edom is. These scriptures are clear, plain upon tables. Verse 6: Shall not all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his? Khan, America is not his, man. Well, even though, they named this land America, this land is not theirs, man. This land, it's the Hebrew Israelites' land, man. You know, Europe, it's not theirs. Australia, it's not theirs. You know, we could keep going on, letting naming places that's not theirs. Hell, they don't have a place on this earth, man. Their dwelling place, their dwelling places, it's in the clefts of those rocks, man. Like fucking cavemen. It says, and to him that ladeth himself with thick clay. And when you look at it, a lot of animals that live in very hot environments, they use clay, use dirt as skin protection for their skin. And you know what? Group of people have to use products, sunscreen, clay to protect their skin. You know the Edomites, man. But it's also some Hebrew Israelites have to use sunscreen because of the oppression and intermingling amongst the heathen of their skin got lighter over time. And due to hundreds and hundreds of years of oppression, not every person that looks like an Edomite is a Edomite. It's some Hebrew Israelites that look like 100% pure Edomite. That's why also at the same time it's important to judge by the spirit and not by the outer appearance, especially in these last days. You know, just to put that out there. Habakkuk 2:12. Woe to him that buildeth a town with blood and establishes a city by iniquity. And Edom's empires, his towns, his cities have been forged with blood, man. The blood of the Hebrew Israelites, most importantly, but also the blood of these other heathen nations. You look at the Roman Empire forged with blood. You look at all these different countries, these cities that was founded by Esau Edom was founded with bloodshed, man. Verse 14. For the earth shall be filled with the knowledge of the glory of the Lord as the waters covers the sea, calm. Since we're in the very end, man, knowledge is at an all-time high, especially of the scriptures. Is more and more things being revealed, man. And the prophets, via the Holy Spirit, the Rakakadash, are able to under understand the scriptures and make it plain upon tables for people to understand. But with that, hope this lesson was edifying through spirit and power. Yahweh Hashem Shah. All praises unto Yahweh Hashem Shah. Until next time, Shalom Yashal.